In the previous chapter, following an incident caused by the maids, Princess Arestein finds herself at the mercy of her cunning handmaids once again. "What do we do, Princess? These are the only clothes you can change into," Rosalind said, her red lips twisted into a mocking smile. The other handmaids giggled and waved the ragged dress at Arestein, as if showcasing their victory. They present her with a ragged dress, pretending to lament the lack of suitable options while secretly relishing in their malicious schemes. As they gossip about her, Arestein remains silent, observing their actions with a concealed smile. She sees through their feeble attempt to undermine her and senses their fear. Little do they know, Arestein is not as defenseless as she appears. Seizing the opportunity, Arestein boldly snatches the ragged dress from the maid's hands, much to their surprise. Their sarcastic remarks fall flat as she defiantly puts on the tattered garment. While it may be dirty and worn, it symbolizes her resilience and refusal to be belittled by her maid's petty acts of spite. As Arestein retreats to the privacy of her carriage, she rids herself of the suffocating dress that was prepared for her arranged marriage. Its delicate fabric has frayed from the arduous journey, rendering it unsuitable for further use. With a flicker of mischief in her eyes, she reaches for the dress that the maids had callously trampled upon. Aristeine's decision to wear the discarded dress surprises even herself. It is not solely an act of defiance but also a realization of her own power. The maids had underestimated her, assuming that she would succumb to their torment. However, Arestein is no fragile princess to be trifled with. She understands the game they play, and she is ready to rewrite the rules. In her solitude, Arestein contemplates her confinement and the calculated motives of her father, the emperor. He had orchestrated her marriage as a political maneuver, intending to humiliate both Arestein and the kingdom of Iruko. But she sees through his ploy, recognizing his disdain for the very people he seeks to mock. Arestein resolves to play along with this farce, knowing that her cunning and resourcefulness will be her greatest weapons. As the carriage inches closer to its destination, Arestein relishes in the thought of the emperor's surprise when he realizes he has underestimated her. She knows that she can obtain new clothes and restore her appearance if she desires, but for now, she is content to let the facade of vulnerability linger. Arestein understands that true power lies not in immediate retaliation but in the unexpected, in moments that catch her adversaries off guard. "They see me as a pawn, but they'll soon learn that I am much more," Arestein thought, determination gleaming in her eyes. Ready to continue her game until the final act unfolds. Arestein had traveled for weeks, leaving behind her homeland of Sylvanus, and finally arrived at the west gate of the Irugo kingdom. The anticipation among the Irugo warriors was palpable as they eagerly awaited the arrival of the woman who would soon marry their lord, Tarkhan. Speculation filled the air, accompanied by murmurs of disdain for the Sylvanus people. "I wonder what kind of person they are," one man pondered aloud, a question that hung in the air without explicitly mentioning Arestein. But everyone knew exactly who he was referring to. Rumors and insults about the Sylvanus people started to circulate among the warriors. "I heard the Sylvanus bastards are all treacherous and cunning," one warrior sneered. Another added, "They are weak cowards." Laughter echoed, envisioning the princess fainting at the sight of them. The atmosphere was charged with mockery and mischief, as the Irugo people prepared to greet the princess in their own unique way. Suddenly, a commanding voice cut through the banter, silencing the rowdy crowd. "Keep silent," a man with short hair and a scar commanded in a low voice, demanding respect and attention. As the sound of approaching hooves reached their ears, the Sylvanus delegation came into view. The complaining warrior, still grumbling, couldn't help but comment, "Why on earth did they use a carriage instead of a portal?" He was met with a stern glance from the scarred man, effectively shutting him up. The delegation, resplendent in its opulence, came to a halt before the waiting warriors. Observing their shiny armor, the Irugo warriors couldn't help but chuckle to themselves. "Can they even fight properly with that much nonsense?" one warrior scoffed. "These people look like they've never held a sword before," added another with a mocking tone. "Well, it's for decoration," quipped a third warrior, prompting laughter among the Irugo group. But their amusement quickly turned to surprise and bewilderment as the door of the most luxurious carriage swung open. "This person is Princess Aristine." Stepping out was a petite woman, dressed in worn-out, shabby clothes. "Oh my God!" The mouth of every Irugo warrior dropped open in unison. "That's the princess," one warrior uttered in disbelief. Compared to the elegant maids accompanying her, Aristine looked like a beggar. Her clothes were tattered, her face smeared with dust and sweat, and her hair greasy and unkempt. It was a stark contrast to the luxurious pomp and grandeur that had preceded her arrival. The revelation struck a chord among the Irugo warriors, delivering a clear message. "Such petty tricks are not surprising from the Sylvanus," one warrior remarked, trying to make sense of the situation. Another added, "But still, to make herself so dirty. Is she trying to say it's that insulting to marry our lord?" Curiosity mingled with suspicion. Approaching the man among the Irugo party who seemed to hold a prominent position, Aristine speculated if he was indeed Tarkhan. She assessed him, finding his appearance pleasing enough and his demeanor somewhat respectful. However, she couldn't shake the feeling that he was acting overly deferential, almost like a subordinate rather than a future husband. Curiosity got the better of Aristine, and she inquired about Tarkhan's absence, expecting a plausible explanation. To her surprise, she learned that he had gone hunting instead of being present to receive her. Aristine sensed his intention to undermine the significance of her arrival, to diminish the importance of their union. Yet, she remained unyielding in her resolve, her lips curling into a composed smile. "I suppose my future husband must be quite shy," Aristine remarked, projecting an air of confidence despite her disheveled state. She conveyed that she would not be easily deterred, prepared to face the challenges that lay ahead. The collective gasp of disbelief echoed among the Irugo people as Aristine uttered those words. The expressions on their faces turned to sheer astonishment, as if they had witnessed a bomb exploding right in front of them. Even Durante couldn't hide his surprise. Attempting to defuse the tension, Durante coughed lightly, attempting to regain control of the situation. "It's not what you think. There have been reports of demonic beasts in the area." Without wasting a moment, he hurriedly set off to confront the threat. Aristine suddenly understood the reason behind his absence. So he's not merely hunting, but hunting demonic beasts, she realized. While it explained his absence during her arrival, Aristine couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. "Why didn't you tell me this from the beginning?" Aristine's voice was sharp, cutting through the air. Durante, unfazed by her question, responded calmly, his expression unwavering. "You asked where he was, and I simply answered truthfully." She paused, momentarily taken aback by his response. Technically, he hadn't lied, but Aristine couldn't shake off the feeling of being deceived. With a subtle raise of her lips, she looked at Durante, deciding to make her stance clear. Deception is not limited to lies alone. It was their first encounter, and Aristine could sense the wariness and dislike emanating from the Irugo people. While it might have been wise to give a favorable impression and play along, Aristine was determined to be true to herself. Having escaped the suffocating confines of the Empire, she refused to cower any longer. "I refuse to bend over backwards for their expectations," she thought. If they held no expectations for her, then she had no need to conform. Leading someone to a wrong conclusion by revealing only half the truth is also deceitful. Embarrassment flickered in Durante's eyes, visible for the first time. As Aristine locked eyes with him, a mischievous glint danced in her own. Durante's breath hitched momentarily, captivated by the sight before him. Despite her dirt-streaked face, Aristine exuded a captivating charm, amplified by her purple eyes that seemed to mirror the colors of a dawning sky. "From now on, I hope you won't deceive me, Durante," she asserted firmly. Durante suggested that Aristine freshen up and change her clothes before entering the palace. However, objections immediately arose from Sylvanus' entourage. "What do you mean by washing her? How dare you call our princess dirty?" they protested. Their suspicion led them to believe that Durante had ulterior motives for wanting Aristine to wear Irugo clothes before even stepping foot in the palace. Initially indifferent, the Sylvanus group suddenly seemed overly concerned, leaving Durante speechless. The exchange continued, but the unyielding Sylvanus faction refused to back down. Reluctantly, Durante chose to avoid conflict while their lord was absent. "Is it truly acceptable to present her in such a state to the palace?" he questioned. "You've seen it yourself." "We have no other choice," replied one of his comrades. "Let's not pay attention to those Sylvanus bastards," another warrior chimed in. Durante sighed, recognizing the potential insult the king of Irugo would perceive upon seeing Aristine and her delegation. Amidst their discussion, the warriors couldn't help but remark on Aristine's unexpected personality. "I didn't expect her to be like that," one of them mused. "She's quite different from what I imagined," another added. Their laughter filled the air as they imagined their lord's reaction to Aristine's straightforwardness. Only she would dare to make such remarks about their esteemed leader. "I like her," one warrior confessed. "Me too," another agreed. Durante listened to their banter, glancing at the extravagant carriage carrying the princess. It was difficult to fathom that such opulence contained a princess dressed like a beggar. His mind wandered, curious about the full story. But his thoughts quickly snapped back to reality. His loyalty lay with his master, and nothing else should distract him. Do not judge solely by appearances. The Sylvanus bastards are cunning, and their true intentions remain unknown. The princess might have come with ill intentions toward our lord's life. In a bustling scene at Tarkon's palace, the warriors serving under him frowned upon seeing the gathering of people, including Tarkon's own siblings. They couldn't express their disapproval since these individuals were family members of their lord. The anticipation for the princess's arrival was overshadowed by the freedom enjoyed by Tarkon's relatives, who seemed more excited about sightseeing than witnessing the royal wedding. As the carriage carrying the princess approached, Durante, one of Tarkon's loyal warriors, sighed upon seeing the frozen expressions of the royal family. He hoped for some mishap, like the carriage door getting stuck or being struck by lightning, to spare the princess from the mockery that awaited her. Unfortunately, the door opened smoothly, and the princess emerged, clad in an outfit that paled in comparison to the grandeur of the carriage. Initially caught off guard by her unexpected appearance, the crowd soon erupted into snickering and ridicule. Mocking comments about her appearance and status as a princess filled the air, while countless eyes scrutinized her mercilessly. Even her own people, who should have protected and defended her, joined in the mockery, delighting in her perceived humiliation. Suddenly, something fluttered softly and covered the princess, whisking her into the air. Startled, she found herself lifted in the arms of a man, his voice resonating with a deep, growling intensity. The man's gaze sent shivers down her spine, and she struggled to comprehend the situation. She realized that he had covered her with a silk cloth and carried her protectively. Confusion lingered in her mind as she looked into his sparkling eyes. Gradually, she grasped the truth. the person who will be my husband, she thought, her heart pounding. The sight of Tarkhan's warriors and even the Sylvanus knights kneeling before him and the princess, in awe of his commanding presence, confirmed his identity. Tarkhan's gaze fell upon his siblings, who had gathered to treat his bride as a spectacle. Disgusted, he averted his eyes, knowing it was futile to confront them. He strode into his palace, where court ladies knelt to welcome him back. Placing the princess gently on a large sofa, he couldn't help but speak with a hint of annoyance. "Don't misunderstand me," he spat out, clarifying that his actions were not driven by affection. Curiosity and surprise danced in Aristine's eyes as she retorted, defying the expectations of those around her. "Misunderstand what?" Tarkhan, taken aback by her boldness, couldn't help but feel a flicker of intrigue. The court ladies watched in awe as their master engaged in a conversation with the princess, her composure unmatched. Her calm demeanor surprised the court ladies, who had never witnessed such familiarity between someone and their master. As Tarkhan ordered a bath for her to address her dusty appearance, the princess interjected, reminding him that they were not yet married. The remark struck a nerve, and Tarkhan made a thoughtless comment about not touching a dirty woman, unaware of the impact it would have. Aristine, undeterred, looked him up and down before boldly stating, "So you are a pervert." The room fell into a stunned silence, broken only by the stifled gasps of those present. The unexpected accusation caught Tarkhan off guard, stirring a mixture of surprise, amusement, and intrigue within him. The exchange between them hinted at a complex and unpredictable relationship that lay ahead as they embarked on their journey as a married couple. How will Tarkhan react to Aristine's bold accusation of him being a pervert, and how might this exchange affect their relationship moving forward? Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share it with your friends. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.